This is part 3 of our West Memphis 3 series, and we are covering some of the theories on the suspects that were interrogated along the way. Give us a follow if you haven't already, just in case TikTok does stick around. And also back in the bio, you can click the link and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be posting over there in case we need to. So this guy right here is John Mark Byers. He was the stepfather of Christopher Byers, and this dude is like 6'5", 235 pounds. He was a big dude, and he was definitely known to have a very bad temper. He had a criminal background, and he was largely known to make threats against his ex-wife at one point in time. He allegedly even used a stun gun against her, but he also had other charges and a criminal background relating to theft as well as drug use. So those incidents, as well as many accusations that were made against him regarding his treatment of his stepson, Christopher Byers, made him a potential suspect in this case. Michael Moore, Christopher Byers, and Stevie Branch were all found hogtied and unalived in a drainage ditch just outside of their neighborhood in an area called Robin Hood Hills. The three guys, Jesse Miskelly, Damian Eccles, and Jason Baldwin, who were arrested and actually served 18 years in prison and now have been released, are really pushing to find out who the real killer of these three boys is. So revisiting some of these suspects from the beginning has been super interesting for those of us who like to deep dive cases. It was noted that the day the boys went missing, that John Mark Byers actually spotted the kids and they were playing in the street. And he was very upset with Christopher because he saw him actually belly down on a skateboard right in the middle of the street. He called him home and he says he physically reprimanded the kid and that he forced him to clean out like the carport and do some chores around the house. So it was well noted that he was very upset with him that day, and given his temper, that put him on the radar. A pocket knife owned by John Mark Byers was brought into evidence during the trial. Now, that knife was one that investigators said could have been responsible for inflicting the wounds on the three boys. Blood was recovered from that pocket knife. Now, that blood had DNA consistent to John Mark Byers as well as his son, Christopher. Prior to trial, during an interview with police, John Mark Byers says that he has absolutely no idea how his blood ever was on that knife, that he doesn't recall at any time ever even nicking himself with that knife. While on the stand and confronted with the DNA evidence, suddenly John Mark Byers says he does recall actually slicing his thumb while he was cutting venison one Thanksgiving. So Byers gave that same knife to a cameraman during a filming of the documentary on the West Memphis 3. They had it tested, and DNA factors called HLA-DQ alpha did come back as a potential match to John Mark Byers as well as Chris. There was apparently not enough blood there to perform a complete DNA test. So if you've ever watched any film with John Mark Byers in it, and specifically the Paradise Lost documentary, you are very aware of what a strange character this guy was. He eventually passed away in 2020 in a car accident, but there has never been any firm evidence that fully linked him to the death of these three boys. This is just one of the many potential suspects in the twists and turns in the case that is the West Memphis 3.